Well, this should be interesting. G'day ladies and gents, and welcome back to War Thunder with Mags, and welcome to a rather interestingly edited video today. I'm not going to be doing this aircraft quite the way I've done the others. Now, this is the Ki-100, and what an interesting and controversial machine this has been. The Ki-100 first flew in 1945, and by all accounts it was an incredibly good machine at the time. Not the best machine for the year, but most certainly no slouch. It's based on a mix of components that were put together as a requirement at the time due to the bombing of mainland Japan causing shortages of parts. The body is that of a Ki-61-2. Why the engine is, well, the engine was actually meant to go into the A6M8, what would have been the final A6M0 that was never actually built, and also the second generation of A7M series aircraft. This strange amalgamation of parts brought about one of the most powerful fighters that Japan had ever built of this type before. The engine itself was slightly less powerful than the standard inline engine that would have traditionally gone into a Ki-61 frame. However, it was only 15 kilograms heavier in terms of block weight. Now, being an air-cooled engine, that meant it didn't require the cooling system. So while the engine was 15 kilograms heavier than the inline engine that would power the Ki-61, the aircraft could afford to shed the entire weight of the cooling system and the fluids that would have been inside of it, stripping over 340 kilograms out of the Ki-61-2's airframe. This weight reduction did wonderful things to the Ki-100's flight characteristics. The aircraft was one of the highest or fastest climbing aircraft that Japan had in 1945. Its maneuverability was off the scale, even tipping over zeros in terms of maneuverability. In fact, both tests during the war by the Japanese and post-World War II tests done by the Americans concluded the only thing a P-47 or a P-51 could do against a Ki-100 was run away. In any form of sustained dogfight, the Ki-100 outperformed it in every single area. The Navy got it worse. There was absolutely no area that the F-6F, which was the primary fighter of the American Navy at the time, could outperform this aircraft. They couldn't outrun it, they couldn't outturn it, they couldn't outdive it, they couldn't outclimb it, and in terms of firepower, it had them beat. Now, the firepower was significant in the aircraft, as at the time, well, the reason this plane came into existence was B-29s bombing the hell out of Japan. They destroyed the plant that built the inline engines for the Ki-61, but the airframes had been already constructed, so Japan couldn't afford to waste those airframes. This was the result of that. So they tried to equip the Ki-61 to intercept the B-29s. However, it didn't work quite so well. While the aircraft was fit with a fantastic amount of weaponry, and in terms of firepower, it was perfectly fine, the engine struggled at high altitudes. Once it got to altitude with B-29s, it really couldn't keep up. So, why the hell is this aircraft a battle rating 3? I mean, we know at the moment that it is kicking the hell out of everyone. There is a reason why there are so many Ki-100s in the sky whenever you face Japan. They are just a phenomenally powerful aircraft. You know, why the hell isn't this plane battle rating 5? Well, I can actually answer that. Believe it or not, it's because it's underperforming. I kid you not. This aircraft, in terms of its performance in comparison to its real-world counterpart, is severely underperforming. What I think's happened here is Gaijin has down-tiered this aircraft knowing that its flight model is not matching up to the numbers of the real aircraft, but they've just overdone it a little bit. So I'm going to throw some numbers up on the screen for you here at the moment, and I'd like to throw a special thank out to ArcticLeopard for helping me research this one. I didn't have access to a lot of information on the Ki-100 myself, but thankfully he had quite a lot and was able to get me the numbers in order for me to be able to cross-reference and to be able to do the conversions for both metric and imperial, since you guys asked for them so much. So, as you can see here, these are the time to climbs and maximum speeds and altitudes of the real Ki-100. From takeoff to 5,000 meters took only 6 minutes in this aircraft, and it could maintain over 550 kilometers an hour while it was doing it. That is a rate of climb of 10.96 meters per second. It does vary around a little bit as it climbs up. It starts off good between 1 and 3,000, dips off at around 4,000, comes back at about 5,000, The drop off past 5,000 meters was significant, which is why the aircraft had so many issues with B-29. War Thunder's Ki-100 cannot hit any of these numbers. Its rate of climb is between 40 seconds to a minute and a half lower than the real aircraft, depending on your angle of attack, when starting from a runway position. It relies on air spawns to be able to make its combat altitudes in the time frame that it would traditionally have on most maps. Comparing against real-world acceleration times and real-world top speeds, the aircraft is between 100 and 140 kilometers an hour slower at any given altitude, all the way up to a maximum measured altitude of 25,000 feet. The real Ki-100 had no thermodynamic issues, that is to say it had absolutely no problems with overheating. It was perfectly fine. The one in War Thunder has constant overheating issues. They're not difficult to manage, but you do need to manage them constantly. While its performance was severely hampered at high altitudes, the real Ki-100 had a maximum altitude of around 36,000 feet, or 11 kilometers. This altitude is unattainable in War Thunder's Ki-100, with the engine suffering massive overheating issues and starting to cough and splutter as you begin to approach 30,000 feet. In fact, the only area that War Thunder's Ki-100 actually performs as well as or better than the real-world Ki-100 is in terms of dive speed. The do not exceed speed for the real Ki-100 was 843 kilometers per hour. The red line on the Ki-100 in War Thunder starts at 890 kilometers per hour. However, I would like to point out at this time that that is the start of the red line. I have never managed to successfully break the wings off the aircraft, and I have exceeded 900 kilometers an hour in a dive before. So, should War Thunder's Ki-100 actually perform to its own historical specs? And you'll see this is an aircraft that would be quite comfortable and quite successful at the mid to high battle rating 5 ranges, possibly even up to battle rating 6, fighting alongside the likes of the N1K. It was an incredibly powerful aircraft, not quite as fast as most of its contemporaries, but in terms of combat capability and maneuverability at altitudes below about 24,000 feet, this thing was lethal. In fact, in flight tests performed by the Aquino Flight Training School before the end of the war against the Ki-84, it was determined that in any given combat situation, providing both pilots were of equal skill level, the Ki-100 would defeat the Ki-84 every single time. But of course, as I just said, the Ki-100 in War Thunder does not meet any of the performance numbers except perhaps dive speed, which it actually exceeds over the real aircraft. So, does that mean its battle rating 3 assignment is actually warranted? In my personal opinion, no. No, not in the slightest. This aircraft is so much more powerful than anything it's facing at battle rating 3, even up to aircraft in battle rating 4. I've deliberately had this aircraft over-tiered in order to face P-51s at battle rating 4.3 and battle rating 4.7. We're talking P-51 D5s, D-20NAs and D-30s, and the aircraft was easily competitive in this particular environment. At battle rating 3, it is just a clubbing nightmare, because even though it is not making the performance numbers of the real Ki-100, its performance numbers are so much higher than everything it's facing that they have no chance anyway. This is an aircraft that could comfortably fight at battle rating 4 to battle rating 4.3 and have absolutely no problems. In fact, it would still be considered one of the most powerful aircraft in its category, and that's with no flight model adjustments. With its performance adjusted over time to reflect the performance of the real aircraft, if it was ever to go that way, the Ki-100 could easily compete against aircraft up into battle rating 5, possibly even capping out towards battle rating 6. While even performing as it should historically, I wouldn't consider this aircraft to be of the level of, say, the N1K, for example. This is an aircraft that, fully upgraded and working as it historically should, is not necessarily an aircraft that shouldn't be fighting on the M1K's level. It wouldn't be a match for the aircraft, but it's not necessarily an aircraft that shouldn't be seeing that level of battle. So, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Remember to click like if you do, or dislike alternatively if you don't. If you have not subscribed to the channel already, remember to subscribe. And until next time, fly smart, fly safe, and I'll catch you in the skies. Oh, and since it's been requested so many times, here's something a little special for you.